Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
It's such a great opportunity for me to be here this morning with you. Thank you very much for this time to meet you and speak with you about San Gabriel Unified. Well, you can tell from that introduction I've been around, and I'm probably one of the most experienced school superintendents in California, because most of us don't last all that long. So I started at age 34 in 1980 and arrived here in San Gabriel just after New Year's this year. And I've really been enjoying my time out here. It's worth the drive. I live at the beach in El Segundo, where I'm on the city council. I've served one term, and I have one meeting left. I'm not running again. I'm more interested in boys and girls and public education and how I can impact the future of the world through them than I am in city politics. And but now I've had the chance to see things through the eyes of an elected and to continue to serve elected people. I've worked with 54 different school board members over my 28 years as trustee. And I don't think I understood them quite as much as once I was elected and sat up there with my other colleagues on the council and looked out from the dais through really different eyes than if I was the CEO or superintendent and leader of the district. So that's been interesting. I did found, before I retired from Weisburn School District, the Da Vinci Schools. They're science, math, technology, engineering type schools. We'll have our first graduates this May. It's going really good. We just had our lottery a week before last, and we had 1,000 families in that lottery trying to get about 300 seats. So we were able to help about a third of them, and the other 2/3 are waiting for Superman, if you saw that movie, or are looking at other lotteries, trying to win those so they can get their children in great schools. And I also teach a little bit at Loyola Marymount, classes in education. My background is a little unusual for a superintendent because I went to the USC School of Business, where my areas of emphasis were marketing and advertising. And I did work in downtown LA after I came out of USC at the May Company department store, the main branch there. Today that's morphed into Robinson's and then Macy's. I managed the men's sportswear department there in the late 60s. Just when shirts, by the way, were going colored. They didn't have colored shirts before like 1969. Seems hard to believe, huh? And it was about 1970 that department stores for the first time in California opened on Sundays. Sears was the first one to do it, and then others followed suit. So these things that we've taken for granted the last 40-something years, that's about when they started in California here. Anyway, I'm here this morning as a leader of the San Gabriel Unified School District, and proud to be. After coming in January, I've met a lot of wonderful people. One of them is here with me today, my Assistant Superintendent of Educational Services that I noticed a number of you met before we started, Ms. Jan Canfield, here in the first row. And she's provided you all with quite a bit of propaganda about San Gabriel schools. And we're very proud of the information that's contained there, and thought it would be helpful for you. So you're out there working with the buyers as well as the sellers on your real estate transactions, and I think you know, like we know in the schools, that there's quite a direct connection between the quality of the schools and where people want to purchase homes. And that connection has stayed true throughout the country, really. A lot of people value education, thankfully, and they want their children to get a great education and make their lives better and better going forward. So we do have some great schools to recommend that should make your job easier to get the transactions closed. And we'll be very welcoming to our new residents. But today I want to talk about our outreach program, our interest in really breaking down boundaries and serving students from throughout Southern California. This all goes back to my marketing days at USC, and this isn't something I wrote about or something I think about. This is something I actually did for 15 years in my last district, which was in the El Segundo-Hawthorne area. It's a district that I attended as a little boy, and that was what that 60-year relationship was about that Helen mentioned. We have a lot of big employers over there in eastern El Segundo. It's the aerospace capital of the world, and there are probably about 80,000 jobs there in El Segundo, where I sit on the council. Well, of course, those employees who work in those jobs don't all live in El Segundo. We only have 17,000 people, but during the day we're closer to 100,000 people. So very much an in and out thing, a day and night thing. And the people who come into work there, they have good jobs, and they come from all over Southern California. And so about 1993, I started recruiting families and used an inclusive philosophy to bring their children to our schools. I noticed that I had all these employees in my district. I noticed that the freeways don't work so good. And I noticed we had a lot of talk at that time about latchkey kids coming home to an empty house miles away from where the parents were. And so I put all that together into a marketing program that offered access to the Diamond Lane, which you can achieve if you bring your daughter or your son to work with you. It offered before and after school child care so that I could build a bridge between Dad's schedule at Mattel's and Susie's schedule in the second grade at Juan de Enza. And then I started to build the programs in the schools along the lines of the results of the Gallup poll. There's an annual Gallup poll that shows what Americans want in their children's schools, whether they're public or private. And I had some of those things in the Weisberg schools and built in some others. And then threw open the permit window. Interdistrict attendance permits are something that are legal in the state of California. So wherever you live, you could choose not to go to your school down the street for one reason or another, and you could apply to go to another school. So this is what started happening in Weisberg, and it just kept growing, and it's still growing today. What started out as our first 50 families, our pioneer families that took a risk bringing their children into our schools, today is sitting at about 1,100 students that are coming in on these interdistrict attendance permits. Now, public school districts get paid by the number of students that they serve, and it's $5,000 to $6,000 per student. It's less now than it used to be, given our state budget. So we were getting about $6,000 per student in Weisberg, and when I got my 1,000th student, of course, I had an extra $6 million then a year to add in programs and services and retain teachers, attract new teachers, build all the programs that the other school districts were eliminating or reducing. And of course, as I brought the arts into the schools and physical education and reading specialists, music, some of the things that families are looking for in their public schools, which of course are free to them, the lines got longer. The word of mouth got stronger. I was out at the Mommy and Me classes talking, at the public library story hours, at the churches in Ladera Heights, wherever people were gathered that wanted a better education for their children. I went there to talk to them and pitch the idea of bringing their kids in on a permit to the Weisburn schools. And as they came and as they told others, it just, we got trapped basically in a cycle of success. And the lines got too long to accommodate everyone who wanted to go there. It was a great way to fight back against the state budget, which is causing so much trouble in the public schools still today. It's a much bigger problem for public schools than it is for cities, because public schools are more dependent on what's going on in Sacramento. Cities have other sources of revenue like transient occupancy taxes and business licenses. So that program was successful. We were able to raise $6 million every year, because when the students come in second grade, they have a great experience. They want to come in third, etc. So coming out here and realizing there's quite a bit of space in San Gabriel Unified Schools. I've counted up about 20 empty classrooms. And we have a list of teachers, maybe 24 teachers who've been laid off in past years and are at home, you know, and I'd like to get them back into those empty classrooms, and I'd like to lower the class sizes in the other rooms that are going on. Well, one of the ways to do this, of course, is to bring in more students. More students, we get the teachers back to work, we'll lower the class sizes in the other classrooms at the schools, and we'll bring in money to the district. We'll be able to add back in services that have been lost. It just creates a whole spiral of success for everybody. So my message to you here this morning is we're open for business. We're under new management basically with my arrival here, and we have a brand new school board president. It started in early December, and we are open to the families throughout the San Gabriel Valley, not just those who live within our boundaries. We already have a number of students coming in on the interdistrict attendance permits, but I would like to see that increase so we can use the space that we have more efficiently and deliver a great education to the boys and girls. If you want to follow up on this and know more about it, give us a call. Jan's card is in your packet. Be glad to lead tours through our schools, answer any questions you have about them. Just yesterday, Jan Canfield and I were at our Coolidge Elementary School. They're being recommended as a California Distinguished School. The visiting team was here yesterday. If you want to come out to the open houses, tonight is at Coolidge Elementary, and Wilson Elementary are having their open houses. I think all of them are in your packet there. Come out and see firsthand what's going on in those classrooms. And we've given you some reasons there of some of our best programs. We really have some amazing things. I'm very impressed there. Our mock trial team at Gabrielino High School finished third in LA County. That's against private schools, and that's against the other public schools. Our Jefferson Middle School team was just honored by the Board of Supervisors in Los Angeles because they finished first in this competition out of 70 or 80 districts. There's some really good extra services there for kids besides the basic skills day in and day out in the classroom. The kids are real competitors. They really shine at speech and debate. We're looking into starting an academic decathlon program because we have kids that really study hard. We have a lot of people over there that care. These are my first impressions after being here for a little over 2.5 months. It's a very wonderful place to go to school. It's a great place to work. It's a great place to lead. And I think our best days are ahead of us. And I want to do all I can to fight back against the state budget so that we don't become victims of it, but that we find a way to attack the revenue side of our budget instead of the expenditure side, so that we can bring in the additional resources that everybody wants in their schools. We've just really had enough of this downtime and layoffs. We didn't do any layoffs out of our general fund last week. The deadline to notify people is March 15th, and you probably noticed there were 11,000 notices given in LAUSD and 500 here in the San Gabriel Valley. We didn't do anything along those lines this year to anybody new, so we've stopped the bleeding on that part. But we've got a long ways to go to get back. All the schools are struggling with these types of things. I just happen to be pretty entrepreneurial in my approach of how to lead a public agency, and I'm going to have a lot of fun leading this way and putting this together for San Gabriel Unified and all the boys and girls we serve. How about questions? Anybody have any questions?